Hi, and welcome to the 64 Doors. Today we're going to open door 26. Here we find an archetype that, with his hypnotic and artful energy, is going to be able to sell anything to you. We're going to explore this archetype from a human design perspective and a gene key perspective. So here we have the Brave Mandala with all the astrological signs and all the gates. Right now we have the Sun in Sagittarius in gate 26. We have the Earth in Gemini in gate 45, and the design part of the cross is the 22 in Pisces and the 47 in Virgo. So if you're born in these 5.7 days that the Sun is in the 26th, you're going to have one of three crosses. The first one is the right angle cross of rulership. 26, the 45, the 47, and the 22, the one we just looked at. And here it says you have the energy to promote yourself as a leader. You could also be born in the juxtaposition cross of the trickster, 26, the 45, the 6, and the 36. Your energy has the ability to sell and make people believe in what you're selling. And then we have the left angle cross of confrontation, which is 26, the 45, the 6, and the 36 again. You have the energy to confront rulership and impose rulership of your own. And like I always say, really good to learn about each one of the gates on their own. You could see here that the two last gates, the design part is going to be different. The angle of the cross is 88 degrees and not 90 degrees. And that's why it changes depending on where in the cross that you're born. So learn about each one of these apart, learn about the gene keys as well, and like make your own synthesis. The incarnation cross or the activation sequence is 70% of who we are. So it's very important as to understand our life path, to understand what we kind of first have to unlock in order to get deeper into the profile, which is also going deeper into the other planets that are like the activations that we're having. So let us go back to the standard view of the body graph. And here we're seeing that the 26 is coming out of the ego center and it's pointing towards the splenic center. It's the only gate in the ego pointing to the splenic center, to gate 44. And here we have the channel that we call the channel of surrender, a design of a transmitter. And it says, your gift is for working with people. You have the instinct for knowing how to present anything to anyone in such a way so that you and your message are recognized. And some other keywords for the 26 that we're using in the 64 doors are artfulness, marketing, manipulation, exaggeration, power of control of memory, and the internal motivator is maximum result at all times. And before we go into, no, actually, let's go into the gene keys right away. Here in the low frequency of the gene keys, 26 is pride, and it's the victim of egotism or lack of grit. It's also about manipulation and boastfulness. In the higher frequencies, it's about artfulness, and the highest frequency is invisibility. You can also see that it goes together with the programming partner. So that's the opposite side of the wheel. It's the mirror opposite when it comes to the hexagram in the I Ching. Pride and dominance go together. Artfulness and synergy go together. And communion and invisibility go together. I have a lot of people in my life with the 26 and the 45 in very prominent positions. So in the activation sequence, either as life's work and evolution or radiance and purpose. And it is a tricky partnership, you can say, between those two. And it's a lot about dominance, and you can feel like there is kind of nothing you can do. You kind of just have to be able to smile at it. And for me, I'm curious always when I feel that 26 energy, like it's going to shine through. So if you know somebody with a 26, it's kind of a fun object of study, because it's going to show you its artfulness. And it can be in very different places. I know people, for example, that have it in the purpose in a first line. It's going to be very much in their in their physicality that comes out. But if it's in the evolution, it's going to be different, and it kind of often is going to go through that whole frequency band from pride to artfulness to invisibility, because it's more of a challenge in that position. um, and we can go directly to the integral human design and look at the channel here. This is very interesting because we have the same frequency band from like the low contracted fearful frequency in the red word, and then the pathway, the gift, the human way in the green word, in the gift. And then the highest frequency, the city, is kind of that creator space, the completely surrendered just flow state where you don't have to do anything, but you're kind of one with creation. So when we have the 26 and the 44, the lowest frequency, when the 26 is in pride and the 44 is in interference, that is going to be manipulation. When we go up to the gift frequency and the 26 is artfulness and the 44 is teamwork, then it's when we have transmission. Like anything can be transmitted. And then the highest frequency, when the 26 is invisibility and the 44 is synergy, that's when we have alchemy. You also see that the circuitry or the stream in, it's what we call it in integral human design, has a frequency band. So here the stream is fragmentation, cooperation, and synergy. So same as the city of the 44. And the heart center or ego center is going to have a frequency band that goes from ego to willpower to surrender. I really love the I Ching, and here you see mountain over heaven, the taming power of the great, and cultivating pure creative energy by restraining action until the right time. And here we can see that we have yang on the bottom, and that's actually where we are right now in the wheel. If you watch what we did with Katrini, we're speaking about the quarter of mutation, which is purpose fulfilled through transformation. And you're going to see that now, before the new year, we have a lot of these hexagrams that have the two lowest lines are yang. So it's very much yang. And here we even have the 3 on the bottom. The whole trigram is yang. And so we have mountain over heaven. You're going to see that heaven, this is the first jinky, heaven over heaven. This is the 52nd, which is mountain over mountain. So the geometry, I love the geometry of the 26 is going to be pride is the stress of entropy. Artfulness is the restraint of freshness, and invisibility is the stillness of beauty. When it comes to the astrology, we are in Sagittarius, in mutable fire. So we have the seeker, the philosopher, the vision quester, the explorer. At the low frequency, it's about fundamentalism. Higher frequency, we have exploration and faith. And mutable fire is the same as Sagittarius is the smoke that travels far and wide and rises to the heavens. So a lot of traveling far, which is not so easy right now. And it's a service to spirit through the intuitive pursuit of truth. In Dream Arc, we have the Merlin, the fox, the chameleon. And you can see here the animal who changes color depending or the reptile, I should say, that changes color depending on what background he's on. The fox is known for being a trickster. And then the vision key, the bird, is the Merlin. And the codon ring, of course, super important. And I'm just going to read this to you. It's so beautiful. And we have been in the 5, in the 9, in the 26 where we are now, and we're going to the 11. So all these are coming. They're all in the quarter of mutation. They are coming after each other. And it's the same amino acid, and they're after each other in the wheel. The ring of light forms a set of 4 chemical codes whose ultimate role is to determine the blueprint of how your body captures, stores, and transmutes light waves into energy. Through the magnetism of your living aura, you draw in or limit the frequencies of light deep into the cellular structure of your body. If you live your life out of fear, magnetically speaking, you limit the amount of light that touches your DNA. The more open-hearted you are, the more you magnetize higher frequencies into that very same DNA. It's only at a certain frequency that particular codes can be activated. This codon ring addresses the central message of the entire Jenkins transmission, that you as a human being wield the power to consciously or unconsciously raise or lower the frequency of light entering your body, thereby altering your reality through the medium of your DNA. Very powerful. And you also have the mudra that you can get the whole library. This mudra is the mudra invisibility. And I wanted us to go into something that's actually connecting human design and gene keys. This is something that Richard did years and years ago when he was still in human design, and it was done as articles actually, and he was going around the wheel and around the quarters and saying this is what happens in each part, and it's a process of deconditioning, and each gate is helping us to decondition and taking out off one of the layers. So here he's writing about an unveiling of the inner light. So the 26 towards the 11, which is what we're going to go into next week. And I'm just going to share a little bit of it with you because I think it's also it's same as the codon ring we just read. It's quite magical. So the 26th gate is one of the most mysterious gates of the entire I Ching. The ancient Chinese held that this hexagram governed the macrocosmic orbit and connects the earth to the cosmic plan. The 26 is also in the heart center and has a deep relationship to the thymus gland. This is perhaps the key to understanding this gate, and in fact, in understanding this time in which we are living. Since Pluto is transiting through the 26th gate as this article is being written, and you who know a little bit about astrology and where Pluto has moved since then. So Pluto takes, I think it's 248 years to go around the whole wheel. So now it is in gate 61. So it's basically just a few, you should say, a few gates. So it's gone over maybe 6 or 7 of them, and now it's in Capricorn. So it's not as the article is being written, but it's interesting because it still has to do with that movement, that progression of where it's going. So it says that the thymus gland releases T cells into the bloodstream, which then kill unwanted viruses and enemies within the body. Let's take the metaphor now into the macrocosm. We are living through a time of bloodshed, not only at the physical level, but at a higher level, we are being purified. In almost all esoteric systems and yogic system, the thymus gland is said to transform the body through love. With Pluto in the 26th, lines are being drawn all across the planet between an old energy and the new mutative pattern that was imprinted on our species whilst Pluto was in the 5th gate. At a personal level, this is the battle between pride and love, the great battle of the ego center. The, the highest level of the 26 is invisibility, a strange sounding term. But this invisibility is about love. Love appears to be invisible, but it has enormous transmitting power. Through the 26, it can manipulate anyone towards their highest self. Now, that is a high level of trickery. When the ego is willing to serve the greater body and sacrifice its own self importance, then it becomes the invisible conduit of a higher frequency of love. You can imagine what relevance that has for our planet at a time of such as this. At a cellular level, this is represented by the eradication of negativity from our lives, not totally, but sporadically. I leave it up to you, your imagination, what it truly means at a macrocosmic level. So this I feel is fascinating. And if you watch the video, please comment on it. This week, we all have the opportunity to tap into the energy of the 26. The sun is activating it for the collective. So whether you have it or not, you have a lot of questions of contemplation inside the 64 doors. And some of the questions have to do with your truth. And the 26 can sometimes have a kind of interesting relationship to truth. In like we know, it's hypnotic, it is artful, it's a bit of a trickster. So it can kind of, form the truths or bend the truth. So look at you. Are you doing it? What, for example, what were the values around truth that you got as a child? For me, for example, my mom, I if there was one thing that I knew that I could like, break her or break our relationship, is was if I didn't tell her the truth. That was the like one thing that I knew from a very, very young age was so important. And of course, if that's the one important thing, that's with me even today, all the time. And as a 4-6, with a lot of fourth line, with a lot of six lines in my profile, there's something about trust and truth for the fourth line that's very important. Like, I want to be able to trust you. I want to know that you're honest. I want to know that we are in friendship. I want to know that we are together in community, that we are in kinship. So, very important for the fourth line. And then the sixth line is about the truth, the values. And it's different in a way from the fifth line. It's all about its own truth, the heretic. Like, I'm going to express my truth. Whereas the sixth line is about truth as a value, truth as an endpoint in a way, or as a beginning. It's a big, I feel it's a big concept for the sixth line, and very important, very central. Um, so look at that, and then I feel it's also tap into the ego center. So the ego center, we could say, is a little bit about the small I. If the G center is like the big I, my direction, my identity, knowing what love is and that I can't find it outside myself, the ego center is about the small I, which kind of the desires of the little I, and also the whole thing about the heart muscle. Like, your heart muscle wants to pump, and if you meet a bear in the forest, or two bears meet each other, they're not going to think like, am I worthy to survive or not? They're just kind of going to fight, because that heart muscle wants to continue beating. So looking at the desires of the small self, of the ego self maybe, and see how they are aligned or not aligned with more about like that bigger, the G center, the diamond of the self, the identity, the direction, and knowing what love is without having to prove anything, without having to fight for it in a way. And I guess it's also good to look at manipulation, like it's as simple as that. And do you feel that there are any parts of your life where you have allowed somebody to manipulate you or sell something to you? Maybe in a relationship, like you might have thought when you got married or when you got into a relationship that this is what you were kind of buying or getting, and then it turned out to be something different. And how are you trying to sell things to people or manipulate people? That can be a good kind of eye opener for this week. So I wish you all a really good week, and I will be back next week.